All right, and we are back. And so because Peanut Gallery is looking at the disunification of certain championships, I want to talk about the history of unifications.
Great.
So the title unification stuff in professional wrestling has gone back many of years, but there are 3 criterion that are established of being title unifications and the reason for them. Number 1 is if one of the championships are being dropped. So as what we were thinking is that the Universal Champion was going to be dropped when Roman Reigns was going to win it, but yet they have not pulled the trigger on it.
No.
I think they're personally still going to do that, but that's just me.
They're not going to.
A brand new championship is created. So if they were going to be creating a brand new title, just like what they did with the IWGP World or the IWGP Heavyweight and the Intercontinental Champion, they made a brand new title and it absorbed into that. And then the other one is both championships remain active and are defended at together with one name, but the title changes reflect on individuals' title history. So what's going on right now is a technical unification, because when you're taking on Reigns, you're going for the undisputed WWE Universal Champion in every sense of the word.
Bushka.
I know, it's stupid, but at every sense right now, it is technically unified.
No.
But because they haven't pulled the trigger on what they're really going to do. Now, the unification of what Reigns is doing right now, this is not unusual, but it's been a very long time since they've been doing this, because when you think unified, you think that's it for one of the titles in some way, shape, or form.
But they haven't. If you look on Wikipedia, for example, they're both still counting.
Now, even currently, the New Japan, when they had the IWGP Intercontinental and the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, when they were defending those, there were times when one superstar went for one of those 2 champions until they made a decision to unify them.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
And that's the only thing that I can say about that. But this is a different level because these are the 2 heavyweight champions.
Right, they're both world champions.
Right, where the other one was the world champion and a secondary champion.
Yeah, exactly.
But now let's go back into the history. Now, this is the first, really prevalent, one of the first big unification title matches in the United States. And that was Nikita Koloff taking on Wahoo McDaniel to unify the NWA National Heavyweight Champion and the NWA United States Heavyweight Champion, where Nikita Koloff, who was the national champion, defeated the United States champion Wahoo McDaniel. Now, Nikita Koloff is kind of famous because he has been in 3 different unification matches, and he's won all of them.
Interesting.
So in 1987, he was the UWF television champion in Mid-South and his World Heavyweight, NWA World Heavyweight champion, defeating Terry Taylor because the Mid-South version of the UWF television champion was being absorbed. So they put it on the line with the NWA World Heavyweight champion as well.
Huh.
In his cases, the unification process was in Nikita's home promotion, which was Jim Crockett Promotions, and he absorbed the those specific promotions champions because those were closing. So the UWF was closing in the late 80s, so they unified those champions at that time. And also Nikita Koloff was the guy who was unifying all the titles at that time as well, and he was the world champion, so might as well at least make it a big deal.
Right.
Now, this one is kind of weird because not only does it require 3 champions, but they have a specific title created for the Triple Crown. And here's the fun fact about this is that any wrestler can not only just go for the specific champion of the Triple Crown champion, but they can go for
which promotion is this?
This is for AJPW, the Japanese promotion.
So all Japan.
Yeah, all Japan, yes.
You didn't specify that.
I'm sorry, that was my fault. But not only can they go for the specific Triple Crown champion, but they can go for each individual part if they want.
And what are those parts of the Triple Crown champion?
So the Triple Crown is the original one. Now, right now, it is the GHC Heavyweight. Their secondary, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the Open Weight and the... Oh, God, what was it? It was that one.
Was it a tag team?
No, it was not tag team. They were all singles champions.
Okay, so it's a tertiary champion.
Yeah, it's essentially a tertiary. Right, it's you absorb all three of them. So it's almost like what Triple A does with when Johnny Mundo won the Mega Champion, the Cruiserweight Champion, and the Latin American Champion. Same principle.
Right. Okay.
I'm just not 100% familiar with them because
so this is something different than like the WWE version of what Triple Crown is, or AEW what Triple Crown is. Like Triple Crown does include a tag team championship within that repertoire.
Yes. No, but the thing is that this was still active. They do this all the time.
This was a championship that was...
It's still now.
Right.
A person can go for Triple Crown in All Japan at any time that they want. Now, the famous one is Misawa, who held this champion. But the issue with this is that literally any 3 champions can kind of be combined into being a Triple Crown, except for tag team. They all have to be singles. So the original was the NWA International Heavyweight, the PWF World Heavyweight, and the NWA United National Champion. And that was won by Jumbo Tsuta back in the late 80s, and Stan Hansen beat him in 1989. And that is when this champion that you see now was created. Now, they've done a bunch of different versions of this with a bunch of different champions, but as it sits right now, it is the GHC Heavyweight and both of their second tertiary champions, depending on which one that they want to do. It's been a while since they've done this because the last one was Misawa, and they don't want to do that because it's Misawa.
Right.
Because he died. Now, this one was kind of funny, and I thought this one was interesting because this is how they got rid of the old WCW World Heavyweight Champion because of what happened with Ric Flair. So back in the day when Ric Flair left the WCW promotion to go to the WWF, he took the...
This was in 91.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
This was Big Gold Belt. He left with Big Gold Belt and had that champion on television. And so WCW had to create, which is that title right there, a new WCW World Heavyweight Champion to replace what they didn't have at that point. They got the champion back from Flair because of certain circumstances, and eventually Flair went back to WCW. The issue is that Flair left as the World Heavyweight Champion. So they decided back in the day in 91 at Clash of the Champions XXVII, which is 25?
XXVII is 27.
27? Yes, 27. So at that time, Ric Flair took on Sting to unify the WCW International Heavyweight Champion, which is what they renamed this title, and the World Heavyweight Champion, which is the Big Gold. Now, Flair obviously won it because it was Ric Flair, but because now that one is interesting because they took a big negative, which was Flair leaving with the Heavyweight Champion, and they made something good with a title unification at Clash of the Champions, which was one of their big events. Like, if you want to talk about a big event, Clash of the Champions was their big event. Now, this one was weird because this was a title unification match with a champion that was not sanctioned within the company, and that was the FTW champion.
And they tried to unify that with the ECW World Champion.
Yes. So Taz, because he was not the ECW World Champion, he created the FTW World Champion.
This is where he kind of went rogue a little bit.
Right. But the thing is that Taz was not the FTW champion going into the title unification at Barely Legal with Sabu. Sabu was the FTW heavyweight champion because the title was defended and changed hands. Now, obviously, Taz and Sabu, I would say was one of the biggest rivalries that ECW had back in the day was Taz and Sabu.
Right.
I mean, there was nothing else that really came close to that level because that was when they first had pay-per-view. And at Barely Legal.
That was our first pay-per-view.
Yeah, Taz was the one who unified the FTW champion and the world champion by defeating Sabu.
Right.
So I thought that one was kind of interesting because that was a non-sanctioned and a sanctioned champion within a promotion. And we're going to end off with the pure champion unification match with the ROH world champion back in the day when Bryan Danielson took on Nigel McGuinness, where Nigel McGuinness was the heavyweight champion and Bryan Danielson was the pure champion.
Now, were these titles actually unified?
Yes.
Or, okay,
this was the final one of the pure champion, and the pure champion vanished in favor of the Ring of Honor World Television Champion.
Because obviously both titles are still active.
Right. This was in 2006.
Okay.
So this was way back in the day.
So again, both titles are still active. They're active right now.
Well, the pure champion was deactivated after this match, but it came back in 2020.
Right. I just wanted to make people aware of the fact that both of these champions still exist as of today, but again, the pure champion was not introduced until really recently.
Right.
Or reintroduced.
2020, yeah. The pure champion was reintroduced. So Bryan Danielson won this match, getting the world champion and the pure champion. And the pure champion
was it a world champion or was it television?
This was the pure and world.
Okay.
So the world heavyweight champion was Nigel McGuinness, and the pure champion was Bryan Danielson.
Right, but you did say television, so I'm like, hold
on.
No.
I said in favor of the television champion, they got rid of the pure champion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, that was kind of weird because this was based on in favor of a different champion.
Right.
Now, this was a pure wrestling rules match as well, which I think was the only time that the Ring of Honor World Champion was defended in any way, shape, or form under pure rules.
Yep, as far as I know.
Right. Now, we could talk about the WWE to the WCW unifications and then the current ones with the NXT and the NXT UK champions.
I mean, there are so many titles that WWE's unified. Like, we talk about the whole spat that they had with WCW.
They unified the hardcore and the Intercontinental champions.
They unified the European and the Intercontinental champions.
They unified the World Heavyweight and the Intercontinental champions to absorb that one as well with Kane and Triple H back in like 2002. Mm-hmm. So WWE knows how to do this, and I think
they do.
And I think title unifications are great because it really does promote a much larger match itself. Now, if you want to do a winner-takes-all match, that would be cool, and we wouldn't have a problem. But when you say a title unification, a champion is absorbed. And the fact that they are doing that is just very chicken shit for the most part.
On the main roster.
On the main roster.
Now, let's talk about when we come back from break, because we did actually do a pay-per-view review.
Yep.
Let's talk about Worlds Collide, our only pay-per-view of this weekend.
Yes. So we'll be right back.